Hello everyone, and welcome to another meeting for Tampa Devs. Today we're going to have speeches. Oh, by the way, there is some food and water behind you, so please just grab and have a seat. This is one of two kind of meetups that we usually host. The other one doesn't involve speeches. We just meet and greet, which also fulfills the mission of Tampa Devs, where there's a place for us to meet and socialize and talk about tech, and maybe more than tech, who knows. In our Slack, a channel, we have a channel called Dance. For those of you who don't know, the co-founders met through salsa and bachata classes. And now we find ourselves coming back full circle, inviting people to where it all started. The next event is happening on the 20th, Armature Works. There will be plenty of food. We're always near food. The very first event happened in a truck food event in Channel Side. So,
it's not plugged in, just click.
This happened on purpose, by the way. Say again, please.
Just click the key space bar.
So today, we are going first through a word from the sponsor. Then we're having a little game, a recap of our past events, some updates, and we have a little surprise in these updates. And then we will end this. So first, a word of thank you to our sponsor today, PwC. Thank you for hosting this event. A word from the sponsor by Lauren. Please help me welcome her to stage.
Welcome to PwC, everyone. We're so excited for everyone to be here tonight. I am Lauren Fernandez. I'm part of the talent acquisition team at PwC. So myself and my partner Patrick are at the table over there in case anyone has questions. For those of you who don't know, PwC is a professional services firm. We have a large hub here in Tampa. In terms of our technology areas, we have US technology, which is where Jesse and a lot of our guys who are in here tonight sit. Global technology, our NIS area, as well as products and technology. We also have a large consulting arm. So with our positions, we've got, with our US tech area, probably about 50 open currently, and then 200 plus from a national perspective. So if anyone has questions, feel free to come meet with Patrick and I. And then Jesse?
I think we have some back here.
What was that?
Did we do the game, the quiz?
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lauren. And now for the game part by our founder, Vincent.
All right, thank you. Hey, thanks for everyone for coming today. Great turnout, and thank you PwC for sponsoring the event. So we're gonna go through like a little quiz, and it's kind of like just like a fun icebreaker, and you get a free prize at the end. So how it works is, has anyone ever played Kahoot? It's like a K through 12 game, and there's a bunch of questions on the screen. You go on your phone, the answer. Whoever answers the fastest and the most number of correct questions wins. Anyone played it? Anyone? Okay, we got a couple people. Nick's played it. You played it as well, and a couple people over there. So we'll go ahead and do that. It's like half the questions. It's 6 questions. Half of them are like Tampa Dev specific. The other ones are just like generic questions, like related to computer science / just IoT stuff. So Yeah. Oh. Dang, I have all the questions here just exposed. Okay. So how it works? Go to quickz.org. And then type in this code right here. 114.0.0.6. Yeah, let me turn on the volume. How do you turn on the volume on this?
Oh, you're the laptop right in the bottom corner.
Oh, right, of course.
It's a window, it's okay.
Is that better? Yeah, that's much better, right? Okay. What's up? You do like a one shot? Yeah. We got 50 people right now. I think, how many people do we have here? I don't know. Should be like 60 or 70, I don't know.
Seated 90.
It's seated 90. Actually, okay, yeah, so probably not yet. Do you guys, does that all make sense with instructions? You just go to quickz.org, and then you just type in that code right here. You got it? Okay, awesome. And yeah, so we got 51 players right now. And make sure to like also like, it kicks you off though if you're not active, so just like make sure you're just still active on your phone. In case your phone times out or it goes to sleep mode, then it kicks you off. So just like be a little bit active on your phone, it should be good. And then if anyone's remote, you can join as well too. I'll probably start when it's like 60 or 70 people. It's like it keeps going up and it keeps going down. Okay, I'm gonna start when it hits 60 people. If you guys are in, if you're in, then you're good. If you're not, sorry. It's because it keeps like, it's like 56, and it's like 51, and like 56 again, and it's like 53. It just keeps going up and down. So, yeah, I'll give it like another minute or two. Does anyone have any problems, or does anyone understand how it works? Everyone's good? Okay. Okay, I guess we're not gonna get the 60. I'll do 55 then. I'll do 55. Just to make it, just like lower the barrier, right? I feel like I'm just like I don't know. Like I'm running an auction now. Like, do we have a higher bidder now? Anyone else? 53, 54, anybody? 55? Alright. Oh, okay, I'm gonna start. Sorry guys. Okay, first question. What does IoT commonly stand for in the tech world? I hope you guys will know this because this is what the topic is about. Internet of Things. Okay, let's see who got the question right. Ooh, Faraday, top place right now. So if you answer the question faster and in the correct form, you also get a higher score too. So let's go to the next question. This one is where was our last tech talk held at? Was it ReliQuest, USF, Embark Collective, or Sparks and Wharf? This is to test your memory, guys, to see if you remember where our last events are held at. It's at ReliQuest. All right. See, Art knows what's going on, right? All right, and then Mitch as well, and Mike Beer. All right, next question. Okay. This is a trick question. What does binary 010 represent in decimal form? Let's see who here knows a little bit about computer science. It's a little bit of a longer time limit. So is it number 3, 4, 5, or 60?
Is it big Indian or little Indian?
I actually have no idea what that even means. I wonder if I put the correct answer in here actually. Alright, it's 5. I did? Okay, God, that'll be embarrassing if I put the wrong answer on there. Okay. Oh, look at Ari, he's still in first place, man. Ari's just killing it. Okay, next question. What was the topic for our last tech talk? Was it intro to React and Git? Was it webhooks and serverless functions? Was it intro to DevOps and automation? Or was it intro to TypeScript and shipping and Unity? Those are actually all talks that we did, by the way. I know, I'm tricking you guys. You don't know which one it is. Let's see who's paying attention. All right, it's webhooks and serverless functions. Art is just killing it, man. All right. I think. Okay, this is an IoT question. Which of these is not an Amazon product? Because Amazon has a bunch of IoT-related products and services. Is it Amazon Echo? Is it Amazon Echo Dot? Is it Amazon Cortana? Or is it Amazon Alexa? By product, I mean like hardware or software. No, software. Yeah. Alright. Wait, did this game freeze? Oh wait, one person hasn't answered yet. Oh, I guess I'll just put next. Okay. Wait, what happened? Did it freeze? Oh no. Oh no. I've never had this happen before. To be fair, I'm not paying for this either, so. Wait, okay, I don't know what's going on here.
Try to go to Google, maybe the internet timed out.
Oh wait. The internet broke, guys.
Try to open up another tab.
Oh, open up another tab? Okay.
Not in that one.
I know. And I don't want to lose. Okay.
No.
Darn.
Can you pause?
Try to refresh it, I guess.
Oh man, if I refresh it, it might kill the session. Okay. I guess I will refresh it.
Moment of truth.
Okay.
What's the pause button on the left?
Oh wait. Okay, I'll just end the game then. Okay, so the answer was Amazon Cortana. I'm just gonna trust who actually got it right. Okay, a lot of people got it right. Did Art get it right? Art, did you get it right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna trust you in that then. I think that was the second to last question. I forgot what the other question was. Alright. Okay, I'm just gonna assume Art won. Art's been feeling it, so. Woo! Great! Alright. Wait, who's Art? Oh wait, Charlton, you're Art? Why did you start Charlton? Okay, Charlton, you get some free stuff, man. We got a t-shirt, I've got a hat, what do you want?
Get over here so we get to get pictures.
Yeah, what do you want? I
Can I get one of them hats?
Yeah, I got one of them hats right here.
Alright, put it on.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Alright.
Congrats, man.
There you go, take it. Oh, wait, let me put this up here.
Thank you very much, Ash.
Alright, I'm gonna let Haritha take over right now. Alright. Thanks for playing, guys. Okay, Haritha, here you go, all you. And let me go slideshow.
Thank you, Vincent. And congratulations, Charlton. So last September, I was in the car with Vincent and Jonah, back from another tech event in Orlando. And Vincent, he just thought, okay, that was nice. Why don't we have something like this in Tampa? And then, sure enough, just 2 weeks later, we were already in Channelside, having food and talking about tech stuff, which was our first event. I think that was of 14. Is that correct, Vincent?
Yeah,
Of September.
It was September, yeah.
So our mission statement is to have the tech people of Tampa to meet together, not being on isolated islands. And this is why we are here today. Thank you all for being here and making it happen. We have free stickers and t-shirts if you would like. Our next event is going to happen in Amateur Words on the 20th. There will be no speeches. It will be very casual. You just show up and mingle with your tech friends.
You can skip that one. And then, oh, we have to do.
And now, I'm going to welcome on stage again Vincent to tell you about a little surprise.
Yeah, thank you, Harita. I just want to cover the events as well. We have another talk coming up at RelyQuest, and Art Charlton is going to be giving that talk. It's going to be everything you want to know about security. So it's going to be good. Sorry to put you on the spot. And then if anyone wants to do a talk in September, we've got a tentative talk spot open at Embark Collective. I already registered the event space already. We can have up to 2 speakers, so if you're interested, just come up to me and tell me what talk you want to do, and then we'll see if we can put you on the spot. And then we have a hackathon actually coming up in October. So it's a really big hackathon. It's actually kind of one of the first hackathons I went to that kind of like taught me programming and kind of helped me get my first job. And it's through an organizer that has he's done this for like 10 years straight, and it's like one of the most well-organized hackathons I've ever seen before. It used to be actually hosted in Orlando, but we just took it from them, so yeah. And there's gonna be a prize pot of $20,000, and this is a global hackathon though, but it's in like Europe, it's in Africa, it's in Sri Lanka, it's in Tampa as well, in Chicago. So there'll be more details on this later, but if you're interested in just like learning something new or trying to build on your resume or have a new skill set or just win, some free money, basically, I'll put that more on the meetup page as time goes on, but we're going to do collaborations with USF and a couple of the schools in the area, as well as with a couple of software companies in town. So look forward to that. And yeah, again, if you want to be a speaker, I'll make you look good on stage, so you can put it all over your social media, and then you can say you're both a developer and a speaker. And the recruiters just go crazy for you. I mean, I'm sure Patrick and Lauren are all about that, right? So yeah, for sure. And more contact information if you want to join Slack, which is like our tech community channel. We've also got Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the stuff up there. TampaDevs.com, and then if you want to reach out to us on email or just talk to me, yeah. All right, and without further ado, I want to give the floor over to Jesse, who's going to be giving the talk today.
Thank you all for coming as well. Let me just switch over here. So today's talk is going to be about home automation with software called Home Assistant, and there's going to be some IoT stuff thrown in as well. So let me introduce myself. My name is Jesse Schein. I am a tech lead here at PwC, where I work on full stack technology using .NET, Angular, Azure, DevOps, stuff like that. My LinkedIn is is posted here, and also the slides for the presentation can be found on my GitHub there. It's in a Markdown file as well as a PowerPoint. For the agenda, I'm going to go over skills and knowledge required, and then I'm going to go deeper into Home Assistant and IoT with microcontrollers. So what is Home Assistant and what is it useful for? That's pretty much why you guys are all here. So Home Assistant is free open source software that is one of the most starred repos on GitHub. It's very active. There's many spin-off projects that have come out of it, which I'll cover. And it's really a great community. There's a Discord, there's a really active forum. And then over here you see, if you check out Home Assistant, you'll see that there's this, you'll see this other word, Nabu Casa, is kind of like the parent company of Home Assistant. So there's ways to do everything I'm showing today fully free. You don't have to spend any money. But if you want to not have to do port forwarding or like expose your server to the internet, you can use Nabu Casa, which is like $6 a month, and it'll take care of that for you. So I just wanted to show the logos and show URLs here in case you want to follow up afterwards. So for skills and knowledge required, there's an entire no-code way to do this, to do everything that I show you. You don't even have to be a developer. So you can basically install some software on like a Raspberry Pi and you'll be good to go. But if you want to get more advanced and like the technology behind it, that's useful to know what to do. It's useful to know Python, Docker, doing some server management stuff, like some port forwarding and stuff like that. C++ is what the microcontrollers are good for. And knowing YAML and Git is really useful as well. So what's the basics of Home Assistant? So the basics are integrations, which is how you add devices and entities, which is the next part there. So like an integration would be something like Philips Hue. If you have Philips Hues in your house, you can add that very easily to Home Assistant. And then you can do automations through Home Assistant. And then it's kind of important to hook it up to voice, because despite what you think about what's in my house, probably the most useful way to control the devices is through voice. So like Google, Alexa, and HomeKit can all be integrated with Home Assistant. And then you can use dashboards, which I'll show on the next slide here of what mine looks like. Is the mic cutting in and out?
Yeah. It has been the whole time.
Yeah, I thought so. I have to like talk right into it. Okay. So this is what my dashboard at home looks like. So I kind of just want to show you to see what the visual parts of it look like. Like all the icons and everything you see, I've manually added myself. Like it's all customizable, and it's basically just free-form HTML, but you can use like a WYSIWYG editor to make it happen. So again, you don't have to be a developer and know all these advanced things to make it happen. And then something cool that people have done is they've literally mounted tablets onto their wall, and they'll put dashboards in, and you can like swipe through different dashboards and different pages, and it looks pretty cool. You know, like some of the competitors for Home Assistant are Crestron. I have such a hard time pronouncing that word, but it's like very expensive commercial software, like to run these projectors and all the lights and stuff is Crestron, so it's very expensive, and it can cost like tens of thousands of dollars if you wanted them to come to your house and do something like that. But Home Assistant can do pretty much as much as what it can do for free. So that's kind of like the big appeal for why I use Home Assistant. So I mentioned Home Assistant integrations. So there's officially over 1,000, like almost 2,000 official integrations. So I'll show in the demos that there's a page you can see, like you can basically type in your device and see if it's supported, and pretty much everything is. So like some of the popular ones are Ikea, Google, ecobee, Plex. MQTT is more like a programmatic way to do it. Alexa, Zigbee, Z-Wave. You'll hear Zigbee and Z-Wave. So really with the home automation space, a lot of like cheap devices are Wi-Fi based, which if you've ever put like 100 plus Wi-Fi devices on your network, I'm sure it's had some issues. So Zigbee and Z-Wave are alternative technologies, which a lot of alarm systems use. So like it's very secure, especially the Z-Wave. Zigbee is used by Philips Hue and Ikea, and it's a lot more affordable. You can also create your own devices. It's pretty easy to do, and I'm gonna do a demo with that. I have some devices here. You can use these like little, this is like a pre-made board that I bought, but you can make your own, and I'll show that later. As far as install methods, pretty much the easiest way, which you could set up yourself, if you can follow some like detailed guides, and you can just install it as like an operating system on a Raspberry Pi. So like your cost is on the server side, like less than $100. You can run it in a Docker container, which is what I do. You can technically run it manually in Python, but all the guides say don't do that, because it makes no sense to do that, and you'll see why. Like I said, you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. You can use the current gen or the last gen if you have one laying around. I run it on one Raspberry Pi 4, and it's like uptime of like a year until power goes out, like today. You can put it on any cheap PC or server, or you can run it in a virtual machine. So it's very extensible. They don't really care how you host it, which is nice. As far as integrations, so you set up an integration, and the integration gives you devices and entities. A device represents a thing, and an entity represents a feature of a thing. So think like a multi-sensor, like maybe in the corner of a room. Maybe it's showing motion, maybe it does temperature, maybe it does humidity. So the actual device is the device, and then each feature would be an entity. So you got like a motion entity, you've got a temperature entity, you've got a humidity entity, and I'll show that later. I want to put this slide because I feel like I would get a lot of questions around what devices to buy. Probably the most amount of time I spent has been buying and researching devices. I've actually got some questions from some people here before. I didn't actually put that example up here, but so for thermostat, the one that I use is ecobee, and I prefer ecobee because it's very easy to integrate, and it doesn't look so tacky like with the scrolly Nest thing. No offense to anyone who has one. I just didn't like that. I didn't think it made a lot of sense. But if you're not using one of those, you can get a Honeywell, which is a Z-Wave one. So the big power behind Z-Wave is it's all local. So you basically have like a dongle or like a separate hub that all the communication happens locally. And the reason why that's important is because let's say you want to change the temperature. If you use Google, you talk to Google, Google talks to a third-party API, which then is connected to your home. So like, it could be a lot of hops. So if you do it all locally, you skip a lot of the hops and issues, especially with like around Google or Alexa, or if anyone's using HomePods. I don't know if anybody is. For alarm system, I personally recommend Ring. And the reason why I recommend Ring is they have this new bridge that also has a backup Wi-Fi. So if you lose internet, like if you have not so good internet, or you lose power and you lose your router, it'll serve as a Wi-Fi hotspot, and it has a battery in it. So if you're in the middle of a call, you won't get booted off, which is kind of useful. It's also a mesh network, so it's pretty good. And it uses Z-Wave, and there's a third-party integration with it that I can get all of the motion sensors and contact sensors into Home Assistant, so I can do things off of all the motion detectors. So instead of having like 3 motion detectors in a corner, which would look real tacky. You can just use one, and it kind of serves many purposes. For motion sensors, if you're not using like ones from like your alarm system, Akara is a brand that's actually just, it's on sale today on Amazon Prime Day, I'm pretty sure. I don't need any more because I keep buying them in bulk and I don't know what to do with them anymore. But they're pretty good ones because they're like between 10 and 15 bucks and they're really small and the batteries last a while. You can also use Zeus. I really like Zeus. It's a company who does Z-Wave products, and you can, they have motion sensors, but they're a little bit more expensive, but they're a lot more stable. As far as lights and switches, so this is kind of a big debate I'm sure many of you have had. You know, do I buy a bunch of Philips Hue bulbs or Ikea bulbs and deal with it that way, or do you put switches in? So I spent a ton of time researching this, and what I came up with is switches is what are already there, and they're there for a reason, because everyone uses a switch, and we have for centuries or decades or whatever. So, you know, it's tried and true, and it makes the most sense, because if you want to turn the light on, you can click the switch and it turns on, but if it's like a Philips Hue, and it's, you know, it's always got to be on with the switch, and you turn it off and on, it turns back on, it's kind of a problem, so it's not very user-friendly. So that's why I would recommend Zeus switches. So they're Z-Wave, so they're highly reliable. They build a mesh network in your house so they connect to one another, so reliability is not an issue. And I've never had a problem with them. But if you did, like if you're renting or something and you want some color or something, Zigbee Bulbs is the way to go because they're cheap. Philips Hue is technically Zigbee, but it's not very cheap. I would recommend Ikea. Theirs are pretty good. They're all Zigbee based and they all follow standards, so it's very easy to integrate them. The next one here is Zigbee and Z-Wave dongles. So the reason why I put this in here is because if you do like set up all these advanced sensors and stuff like that, you need like a way to connect to these devices because they're not Wi-Fi. But again, it's for a reason that I recommend it, because instead of being Wi-Fi and if you lose internet, all your automations and stuff don't work. So that's the reason why I recommend doing everything locally if you can. For custom devices, I have a few up here and I'll show them in the next slide or two. They're like pre-made devices. Like this one here is like 40 bucks. It has a screen. I can program it. I can hook up sensors to it. So like if you want to go a more advanced route, there's some pre-made ones. For smart speaker, I recommend Google or Alexa, not HomePods, because they don't really integrate so well with Home Assistant. I personally went with Google. That's just kind of how I started out. I don't really think one's better than the other. I think they're both pretty good. For smart door lock, I recommend Yale with the Z-Wave or August module. I don't know what's going on with this mic. Yale with the Z-Wave module, because if you hook it up to your Ring alarm, it when you enter your code to your door, it'll also disarm your alarm, so it saves you a step. It's not necessarily, like, they just pair well together, but it's not a requirement because you can just as easily set up an automation. Like if the door if the keypad unlocks, turn off the alarm, like if it's you type of thing. So there's like ways around everything. There's like 10 different ways to do the same thing. As far as the automations, they can be done in 2 different ways. So you can do them directly in Home Assistant, or you can do it in Node-RED. So Node-RED, as the name implies, it uses Node, so it uses NPM, JavaScript, Node.js, but then it also couples it with this like GUI WSWG editor that I think anyone can just look at that and be like, you know, okay, if I detect office motion light, is the house lights already on? Turn the light on. And then after 20 minutes, if it's on, you know, turn it off or something like that. So like, it makes a lot of sense, and it's a very visual way to see things. And you can also just as easily use regular Node.js, and you can, you know, enter your own functions or own custom code, and then it just hooks into Home Assistant over a WebSocket. So it's like very fast, and I haven't had a problem with it. And that's how I do most of my stuff, because the Home Assistant one is good, and it's gotten better over time. But it's not so visual. And then So this is kind of the IoT part of the talk. So with Home Assistant, it's meant for like, it's like your controller. It's the way to get into everything. Whereas if you use an ESP32, which is a microcontroller with Wi-Fi, it's manufactured at scale in China by Espressive. So like a lot of devices are using them because like the scalability is really important with it. Like a lot of people are using them. They're trusted. They're in a lot of products today. That I'm sure pretty much everyone here in this room, whether they know it or not, has one in their house. They're very low powered. They're used in many products. They support over-the-air updates. And then there's ways to do no code to program them. So you can use YAML, which will then compile to C++ and then upload it to the device. And there's also a way to flash it with a software called Tasmota. I have both of them done here. Maybe I'll show them both. So you can also do it through like a web UI, and it's like very configurable. For the specs, for the nerds out there, you got it's a single or dual core device. It's up to 240 megahertz. It's very low RAM, like less than 512 kilobytes of RAM. It supports external RAM, like up to like 8 megabytes. It's got like really low flash, like 4 to 16 megabytes of flash, which you can actually surprisingly do a lot with. Got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or Zigbee. They just came out with a new one. They also have some. This is a really cool company because they're really innovating. I suspect in the next 5-10 years they'll pretty much have the whole market. They have like one that can use like AI right on this little like $6 chip, which is pretty crazy. They have general purpose pins, which you can just use for a bunch of different reasons. And let's see how big that is. So the one on the left is the one I have right here. It's called the M5 Stack Core 2, so it's a great name, but it's got a touchscreen, it's got a speaker, it's got a microphone, it's got a vibration motor, got some LEDs, it's got a port, it's got a ton of stuff. It's literally a mini computer for like 40 bucks. The one next to it, just like its little brother, it's got a screen, buzzer, ports, and then you can easily plug and play, so like you don't even need to have like fancy wires, everything comes together. And you can plug it into like this temperature sensor, which is what I have here, attached dangling. And then just some project, some ways you can use it other than just like as a sensor, because you don't really need to buy and program all this stuff to do a sensor, like to measure the temperature. So I just got an Orchid. So I'm thinking about buying this unit watering, which has like a little pump and like a soil moisture sensor. So if the Orchid needs some water, I can dispense water. So it's kind of cool that you can just kind of plug and play. You don't have to know what to buy because it's all just kind of available. And I put the website here as to where you can find out about this. ESP Home kind of ties in with these ESPs. So it's made by Home Assistant. It was such a successful project, like a spin-off project, that they were basically acquired. I mean, it's all still free and open source, but it was so popularly used that Home Assistant actually like kind of just like made it official and said, okay, we're all now like getting along. We're all the same. It's a no-code way to program these devices here. It uses YAML to program it, which enables code sharing, because I can just copy and paste my YAML file and give it to one of you, and you can have the exact same thing that I'm doing, and you don't have to write any code at all. So there's a lot of examples online, and you can pretty much do anything with it. So, I don't know, open up the garage, you can technically program it to click the button for you, water your plant, have a temperature sensor, whatever you want to do. So you can pretty much do anything. And now it's demo time. Do I have any questions so far? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the coolest device you have in your house?
Probably my shade. That's an automatic shade. I didn't mention it, but the ones from Lowe's are Bali blinds. They're really cheap. I'll shouldn't say really cheap, they're definitely not cheap. I wish they were cheaper, because I'd have a lot more. But they support Z-Wave, so it's like very common protocol, so it's very easy to add it to Home Assistant, and it's pretty cool to have like your shaders go up and down. Like earlier, I was trying to turn the lights on, which I had some struggles with because there was nothing labeled, and I discovered this whole room has shades, so my bank account didn't like seeing that. Okay, so what I'm demoing here, so in Visual Studio Code,
You might want to zoom in a little bit.
yes, I will. There's really nothing to see. So I just cloned the Home Assistant core Git repo, and I'll just pull that up. That's not it. So it's got 54,000 stars. You know, if anybody has gone on to see if they can trust a library, you've probably gone to GitHub or NuGet or NPM to see how many downloads it's got, to see if it's worth your time. So I mean, that's pretty high, and it's one of the most popular. I think it was at one point, I don't know if it still is, it was one of the top 100 repos. And to give you an idea of what are some of the top 100 repos, you know, you got like Kubernetes, you got Node.js, like you got a lot of these big names. They're in the top like 100, and so is this, to give you an idea of how popular it is. So all I've done is just cloned this repository, and one thing I put in the description of the talk is, you know, how can this make you a better developer, and like how can you apply this to your day job? All I did was clone down this repo, and then they've used this concept called dev containers. I don't know what is going on with the mic. It has a dev container set up, so if you have the extension, it'll automatically download all the dependencies and requirements that you need to run it, and you'll be good to go. It takes a while, so I did that step before because it downloads a whole lot of stuff, and it compiles, and it takes a while. So you just need Docker running and the extension. So another thing that it's using, because there's a lot of developers working on this, so they've tried to make it easy, and they've tried to make it so that you don't have to like research too much to like just figure out how to get it running, to like develop it and code for it. So on top of the dev container, they've set up Visual Studio Code tasks. So I can just, all I did was to get this output down here, I just opened up the command palette, tasks run, and then run Home Assistant core, and that was it. Now I'm up and running. I already set it up a little bit, but there's other tasks, so like they're very strict for PRs, like you have to have tests, you have to have things set up in a certain way, you have to run code linting on it. I think it's using Python Black. I did it once when I tried to make a PR. Someone beat me to the PR, so I just kind of abandoned it anyway. But so you have to run your code linting, like they're very strict. Like you have a space where you shouldn't have a space, or if you have like a naming convention issue, they're not going to approve it. So it's pretty strict, but it leads to being able to just copy and paste someone else's code and basically make it your own. How bad is the mic cutting in and out?
It's okay.
It's all right? All right. So all I did is I ran it, and then so I've set it up. It just basically asked me, where are you located? You don't have to provide it if you don't want to. I gave it a username and a password. It does support two-factor authentication, so you're safe on that side. You can also like lock things down IP-wise. You can run this whole thing locally, so you don't actually have to put anything on the internet. So like you can do all the automations and everything you want locally and you don't lose anything. The only thing you would lose, and the only reason why you need a port forward in the first place is for like Alexa and Google, so they need to talk in. But that's where I said that there's like the $6 option that they just kind of do that for you, and you don't have to do port forwarding or anything like that. So this is what the dashboard looks like. So what I've done is I've set up these two devices here to this instance of Home Assistant. And I need to switch it to my hotspot. So let me do that now. Hopefully everything connects. Let me switch it here. One of them's connected. Let me just try to get the other one here. Oh, I know why.
Just turn it off and on again.
Okay, now it's detected. Great. So all I've done is I went into settings and it's a pretty nice UI. It's like its own custom UI. It doesn't really follow like any material or anything like that, but it's pretty nice to use. So what I've done is I've set up MQTT, and it's running as a Docker container. And MQTT is a message service. So it's just like topic and subscriptions. So you can subscribe or publish and things can hear it. So it's very popular with IoT because typically the messages are very small. You can put JSON in it, it doesn't matter, but it's typically just for like, I turned on, or I'm drawing 100 watts of power, or I last was awake an hour ago, stuff like that. And then I set up this ESP Home connection, which is literally just as easy as hitting add integration. And then remember that list, I set up 2,000 integrations, endlessly scrolling here. Like there's literally so many. So then I just searched for ESP Home. I clicked it, and then I just needed to add the host name, which I just used its actual host name. And the port was like the default port, but you can change it. So that's all I did was add that. And then because it's fully integrated, behind the scenes it knows how to connect. So then it's connected to it. And as I mentioned, so this card represents the integration. And then, do I need to make it bigger for anybody? You get the integration, has the device, which is, I just named it PWC demo. And you see all the controls and sensors and diagnostics. So those are the things I've kind of wrote YAML for, and I'll show that in a second. So this is the device page, and then each one of these little features is an entity, and like you can click on it, and it gives you the entity ID, which is, light is the domain, and then the name is demo LED, but you can change this, but if you change it and you have like 10,000 automations off of it, you can break them. But on the plus side, let's say you get a new device to replace something, and you want it to be called the same in all your automations to do the same thing, you can just like swap it in and it doesn't care. So it's not like things are tied to a specific integration. You can just do, you can hot swap, plug and play. It's very versatile. So if I press this button, you see the light turned on. Yes, thank you.
Turn your device.
And it keeps track of the history, and it shows you everything on the side here, like, you know, when it's turned on, when it was turned off. And then what I've done on this other device, can you all see that there's like something on the screen? You can't really tell what it is. It's just a big red button that says light. So if I press this, it's going to send a message through MQTT to Node-RED, which is listening on it, and it's going to send it out, and it's going to, Node-RED is listening, and then it's going to call Home Assistant through the WebSocket to turn the light on. There you go.
We can't see the light.
I think it's facing you.
What do you mean?
The device.
Oh, you can't see it?
There you go.
So I just have it set to toggle.
Ah.
Thank you.
Good job, Rudolph.
So you can see it's really fast, and like it updates it right here in the UI, like right away. It turns it on and off, and you can dim it. So like I can go a little bit right. See, it doesn't really show so well here. It's not the brightest bulb, but it's also got some buttons. So if I just hit the button on it, the device actually has logic to turn it off, so you can do like small automations directly on the device. Again, this is all with no code. I'm going to show the YAML behind it, and you can see if I hold the button down, you can see demo button A is held on, and you can see the light has been toggled. If I let go, it goes away. If I press it again, it toggles the light again. You can control if it's on release or on click. So very customizable. So again, on the GitHub repo on my GitHub, you can see the whole presentation. There's a markup file, and it's a PowerPoint, and then there's a source file that has this demo YAML file. So this is all the code that's on there to make this device happen. So it's really no code. It's all just YAML. So like you can see, like here's where I've defined. You know, it's got a bulb. It's going to output to this output. This output is on pin 10. So you kind of have to know a little bit about microcontrollers. But a lot of it you can just Google your way through and copy what other people have done if you bought like the same device. You got like the sensors, like the uptime, how long it's been awake. You got the Wi-Fi signal sensor. You can see where I toggle it, and all with no code. So you don't have to be a developer to do this. In fact, this integration almost doesn't support code. It's pretty much just the YAML. You can get a little more advanced and like use the C++, some like IDs and stuff like that, but it's mostly just YAML based, which is nice because I can just go online and copy and paste someone else's code and have whatever cool thing that they're doing, and I don't have to do anything myself. This other one that I have here is the other software I mentioned. It's called Tasmota. It is just like instead of doing it based off of the YAML file, it's more done through like a web UI. And this one actually, the people who wrote this, I'm very impressed by their skills and time, because I swear this guy's making a commit like every day. And he actually wrote his own programming language that runs on this device. And I was like, wait, why does this guy's name look familiar? And he's writing the software, and then he also in his spare time wrote a whole language that works on here. It's almost like Python-like, so that's how I've kind of like put the, there's like a whole UI here. It just shows the temperature data, and it shows a button, and it's like you can do it in like a Python-like language, and you can write it right on the device instead of having to flash it every time. It'll just pick it up, which is very useful because it's kind of slow to make a change and then upload it to a device. And then let me show you Node-RED. So this is Node-RED. This is, so as I mentioned, it's just a really simple example. So I'm listening on a topic here. and this is the topic I'm listening to, and that's the one that that device is publishing to. It's just a value, publishing 1, but it only cares if there's a message. So it reads this, and then you just kind of draw a line from here to like this other node, which is a call service command. So everything in Home Assistant's a service. So it just toggles the LED on and off, and it's very easy to like have it do other things, and you can like do debugging. So I can just drag a node here and drag it to this little debug message, hit deploy, and then hit the button. And now you got, the message is actually what was published on this topic, which was just the value 1. So it's very easy to make changes here. You don't have to keep compiling, which is nice, because when you're trying to do this home automation stuff, you're not really focused on the code. You're more focused on setting it up in your house. So that's why a lot of people use this in the forums and in the community. So that's the demo for like how to set up Home Assistant. It's using a dev container. It's got tasks. It's all set up for you. There's a lot of development guides and documentation on Home Assistant. I feel like in the development world, you don't document enough things. But with the Home Assistant, it's a Git repo that people are self-documenting as they develop things. So you got like all these documentation pages on how all the features work. And this is just a handful of them. And then you've got a separate guide, a separate separate page on how to set up the development environment, how to test your code, the style guidelines. It's all there for you. So it's very, very easy to get started and contribute. So actually, I used to live in an apartment that came with like a smart home system, but it pretty much sucked, to put it in nice words. So I actually reverse engineered their API by just simply going into DevTools and like seeing how to turn things on, how it gets the list of things. Thankfully it was an Angular site, so everything was an API. So I reverse engineered it, and I just looked on GitHub on Home Assistant's page, copied an integration, and made it work for me, and hooked it into my apartment's smart home provider. And I really, the whole purpose was so I can set up auto locking on my front door lock, because there was no feature for that. So I did it through this way, and after like a few minutes it would auto lock. Most locks nowadays have that feature, but I went to great lengths. I don't know why. So I mentioned in the presentation like recommended devices. So some of the cool ones I recommend are the Yale locks. This one's through Wi-Fi, but it integrates very easily with Home Assistant. It's kind of expensive, but you can get it on sale, or you can just get the keypad itself, and then you can buy the module later at like a discounted price or something like that. I mentioned the Ring alarm system. This is the one that has the built-in router. So it serves your router, but then has a battery, and it has LTE connection, so you can stay up all the time. And all of the sensors integrate with Home Assistant. For those who are renting and can't mess with switches, this is what I have on a few of my switches actually. So it mounts on to the plate, and it basically pushes the toggle, or it'll move the rocker up and down. And the reason why I used it is I have some under cabinet lights that are fluorescent tubes, which you can't use a smart switch on, because it spikes the voltage to like 400 volts or 600 volts. It'll fry a switch. So it's got a dumb switch with this little rocker that turns it on and off, and that's good enough for me. Pretty easy to set this one up, and this is actually pretty affordable at $25. Switches can get up there in price, and plus you gotta like change out the switch and like know how to do electrics, or hire an electrician, things like that. And it's also good for renters, so you don't have to change out the switch. You can just clip it on, just take the screws out and put this on. The brand Zeus I recommended, they are using Z-Wave switches and things like that. And what this one is, it's if you've ever used the Lutron system, you know, they have like those little Pico remotes that you can put wherever, or like the shades. So this is very much the same thing as that, but it's entirely looks the same as a regular switch. So like, let's say you have like a smart device that you want to control with a switch. You want to put it next to your existing switches. You can just pretty much put this on the wall, like stick it on, and then put the cover, a bigger cover on, and now it looks like it was meant to be there the whole time. So you don't look like you have like a whole bunch of gadgets everywhere. Because the goal is to have, you know, looking nice. So in the community, there's a pretty popular thing called the WAF rating, the wife approval factor. That's very important, as my fiance is smiling in the back of the room. So that's pretty cool. ESP Home, I mentioned, is running on the orange device there. They have really great documentation as well, so you can see all the crazy things you can do with it. You can hook up relays, you can hook up really anything. Like the list is huge here. Let's see. Lots of temperature sensors and motion sensors, light controls. Really, you can do whatever you want with it, so it's very versatile, and they got a lot of documentation on how to use these. If you want to kind of get started, like with lights, like if you want to do actual bulbs, like maybe you have one bulb, one place, like in a floor lamp that you can't use off a switch. Ikea has some really affordable smart lighting products, and they're always updating it. I used theirs for a while. They're using Zigbee Bulbs, so you can use their gateway, which is kind of expensive at $100, or you can buy like a cheaper dongle and just hook it directly to Home Assistant. There's a software to do that, and I'm going to show towards the last part of the demo like what my house looks like, and you can kind of see things. So this is they're a good system. And then I showed that dashboard, like someone just mounted like essentially like an iPad or like an Amazon tablet people are doing. But there's also other ways that you can use these cheaper devices, and you can use JSON to like make a whole UI, and you can have it hooked up to automations and have it control your lights and things like that. That's how this one is working over here. It's using this software called Lvgl, which is Light and Versatile Graphics. And like you can see here, this is actually, they've converted the demo, which is C++ code, to show in the browser. So like this little UI here, is it actually rendering what I could put on the display here. And there is official companies using it. I believe Ecobee actually uses it. And there's another company called Brilliance, which has like a really cool like a screen with some switches built in. And so there's companies using it, and you can like drag and drop, you can do like a little music player, so they look pretty good. And this can totally run on this device here. All right, I promised Vincent a surprise. I saw one of the previous presenters did that, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea. So what I have done is I've hooked this Home Assistant instance up to Slack, to the Tampa Dev Slack. I think Vincent's pulling out his phone to go look at it right now. He's excited. So I hooked it up to Slack. I just grabbed an API key from Slack and plugged it into Home Assistant. It's pretty easy. And then just go to Automations. And so I have the automation, I set it up. It's always running the automation, but I've disabled the part that publishes. So I didn't accidentally press it. So now I will enable it. All right, I think it's going to go to the meetups page. All right, let's see if this works. I see what you did there. All right, let's see if it works. Oh, look at that, it worked. That was pretty fast, too.
Woo!
Yeah, thank you. That was pretty fast, actually. It worked very well. So what it did is so this is directly controlled by Home Assistant, so there's no like messaging in between. So I just hit the button, and it knows I pressed the button. I don't have to like code that or anything. It knows I hit the button, and I set up the automation to listen for that button and notify Slack. So it's all like service calls, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I named it Slack message. The trigger is the device, which this is the device name. The trigger is button B, turns on. You can have it, I can have it set so it has to stay on for 5 seconds or something like that. And then the action, notify.tampadevs, and then I just put the message in here, and it sends the message. So it does all the heavy lifting for you, like all the rich programming, right, to connect to Slack, to send it in the right format. Somebody who's in the community wrote that, published it to GitHub, and checked it in, and it's got reviewed and passed all that stuff, and anyone can use it. So I think you can also maybe listen to messages from Slack. So like, I don't know, maybe Vincent sends me a PM and my whole house flashes, or the siren goes off. I don't know. I didn't do that, or did I? All right, so I'm gonna switch gears here and spend like the last 10 minutes or so on like looking at my house and how I've set things up, and show you some of the things that I've done. One second. I'm just signing in real quick.
You want to show us your password?
No, that's not it. Chris knows what it is. All right, so this is my actual instance of Home Assistant that's running at my house. So I have it port forwarded, so I don't have to pay the $6 a month. There's other benefits to doing that, like if you have to connect to your home or whatever, or anything like that. So as far as integrations go, these are all the different integrations that I use. I have all my Google Cast devices hooked in. I've got my thermostat Ecobee, I've got my August lock, I've got an Alexa hooked into it. I've got this device called a bond bridge, which it's a pretty good value. It's $100, but it allows you to control every fan in your house from like a central place. So like you just take your remote up to it, it learns the codes, it has a database of remotes, it knows your remote, like all the remotes have the ID on the back with the FCC, so you just match that up to what they return, and then you can control all your fans or lights or smart switches like they have as a remote through one device. So instead of having to buy 10 smart fans at $600 each, $6,000 on fans, you can buy one hub and then buy cheaper fans. So like this one is one of the cooler devices. So I've got a bunch of fans. I spent way too much time and money on putting fans in my house, sometimes taking down one, putting up another one because I didn't like it. way too much time.
Do you really have 18 Google Casts?
Could be. Yeah, I do have a lot. I really do. I have one in my bathroom, one in my office, one in my bed, two in my bed, three in my bedroom, a bunch in the family room. They're all over the place. You know, it shows the brand and it hooks in. They're really everywhere. That's what I would recommend. I like the Google ones because the newer generation has a little screw mount on the back, like if you hang up a picture. So in the bathroom, I put one so I can like listen to music, and it just goes onto the wall. It's very invisible.
But it's listening.
It's listening. That's right. I got some custom devices. I don't think I'm using them right now. One of them was like one of these. Like I was playing around with ESP Home. One of them was using the garage. I was just playing around to see what the temperature is and stuff like that. I got all the Ring stuff is hooked in through MQTT. So I've got like all my windows monitored. I've got the garage keypad, the garage door. Let's see. What time is it? Oh, it's actually great timing. It's 8:01 p.m., which means I need to hurry up and wrap up. But 8 o'clock is when my patio shade goes down, so the neighbors across the street can't see in when we're eating dinner or anything. So I'll show that. So this is what some of my Node red looks like with how many different automations I have. Some of them are all over the place. Some of them are for testing. So these are all like my general purpose ones. I mentioned I have Z-Wave switches. So with the Z-Wave switches, things that you can't do on a Wi-Fi switch that you can on a Z-Wave is, so in the walls I have the switches. Normally you can just turn it on and off and dim it. But with the Z-Wave switches, you can configure the buttons, like if you do a double tap, it'll turn the brightness up to 100. If you hold the bottom one for 2 seconds while it's off, it'll set it to a configured value. And I can program the rest. So I have one downstairs. I like to triple tap on the up, which turns on all the lights downstairs, which is another thing that Home Assistant helped me do that I couldn't necessarily do with Google or Alexa alone. So I set up a group, which I can plug in the lights I want, and that group is exposed to Google Home as downstairs lights. So if I turn off, hey Google, turn off downstairs lights, or set it to 20%, every light downstairs that I've set up will go to that percent. And also, that's also how the switch works. Let's see if I can't find it. I've gotten a little bit carried away with them. I don't know what they all do anymore. Yeah, so I got the node switch, so like it's got like an ID. It goes to the kitchen switch. If I hit the paddle up, you know, I've said if the key is pressed 3 times, then it'll continue on with the flow. And that one just turns the lights on. It turns the downstairs lights and the cabinet light to 100%. So I got a bunch of them doing that, like the one in the bedroom. I have 2 fans. I have a Dyson fan. I have a ceiling fan. You know, I can double tap it to turn on the lights to 100%. I can triple tap it to turn the ceiling fan on. Because normally, like with the ceiling fans, if they have a remote, you can't hit the switch to do what you want. I mean, you can kind of turn it on and off, but if it's already off, you can't turn it on. So fix that problem. So there's a lot of things that you can do with Home Assistant. It's very versatile. I'll show you the patio shade one. And actually, I've done some cool things with the patio shade, not just like, you know, it goes up and down at a certain time. So I have a bunch of lights on the patio. So I like added a whole patio section to my house and put like string lights all around it, put string lights in the inside patio. I have the ceiling fan outside I put in, which is hooked into the hub. So if you are outside, if you open the back patio door and it's past sunset, so it's dark out, it'll turn on all the lights, which aren't hooked to any switch, right? They're hooked to smart devices, to outlets, but they're not hooked to a switch because they didn't buy the house like that, right? Most of the times you're working around problems, not it's set up from scratch. So I have that one, and then let's say I'm done outside in the patio, want to come inside, I don't want to have to tell Google to turn off the lights, but I'm going to close the patio shade. I close the patio shade, and once it's done closing, it'll turn off all the lights downstairs because there's an actual switch that it came with, like a little remote. I press that, and it will turn off all the lights. I got motion sensors, so I have a kitchen motion sensor, which is using the ring system. It's hooked in through MQTT, which I just say, is the motion, it's kind of backwards logic. Have you ever written an if-else statement and done it in the reverse? Like you want to, let's say, escape out of a method, if it's false, return sort of thing. That's kind of what I've done here. So if it's off for 30 minutes, it will send a message to turn it off, but if it's reverse, it's also listening if it's turned on with the same node. So if it's a text motion, and it's between sunrise start or sunrise start, if the light's not already on, the TV is not on, because I don't want the kitchen lights when I'm watching the movie at night. If the TV is not on, it'll turn the lights on. So that's kind of some of the more advanced things that you can do with it. It's very easy to maintain this, because there's no code really. It's really just like, if I were to drag a new one, I'll show what that looks like. So it's state changed. As soon as I start typing here, it'll auto-complete because it's hooked in to Home Assistant through WebSocket. It already knows all the entities. So if the motion in the kitchen is on, it'll send the message through, which will trigger the next node to turn on, to do something. All the conditional logic and things like that. I have one that controls my fan in my bedroom, so wake up in the morning, I'm no longer using the fan, I don't want to waste electricity, so after I've woken up, I don't have to do anything, it'll just automatically turn the fan off. Before bed, it'll automatically turn on. I have one with the alarm system, so if it's set to go to away mode, it'll turn the light, it'll get a list of all the lights. This is kind of where the programmatic parts of it come in. This is how I think I looked at this one up. Let's see. Actually, no, I didn't. This one was, they updated. It used to be like a query, but then they changed it to kind of this drop down. So if it starts with light and the status is on, it's going to return an array list, and then I'm going to tell this, here's the logic. Copy and paste off of docs, the forms. So it's going to grab all the IDs and then turn them all off. So as the alarm's away, turn off all the lights to save electricity. When the alarm, or I think it's when the alarm is disarmed from away, turn the lights on. So that way when you come home, the lights are all on, safe, whatever you want to be able to see. I have one in my hallway that just quickly turns the light on while you're walking in the hallway, and 5 minutes later it'll turn it off. That's just using a little cheap $12 motion sensor that's mounted on a door ledge. And then this is the one that always bothers me, is the fridge. So my fridge is not so great, so it's gotten out on me. So I put a temperature sensor in there. So whenever the fridge gets too hot past a certain point, greater than 42 for 30 minutes, it will send a notification to my phone, and it'll say the fridge has been hot for the past 30 minutes. You could technically buy a device to do that. I bought one, it didn't work so well. It doesn't work when you're not home. So I bought this, I set this up with another Zigbee sensor, it's $12, and put that in the fridge. I have 2 sensors in my fridge because I like cold food and cold beer. Here's the patio shade one I mentioned. If it's closed, the lights are on, turn the lights off, things like that. One more thing I'll show, just to give you an idea of the amount of data that you can get out of Home Assistant.
Quick question about the node run.
Yes.
How do you configure for sunset and sunrise for
So with Node-RED, so there's a node that you can just look up, and all its purpose is to do is to provide you with sunrise, sunset based off your latitude and longitude, and you just plug in what you want. So like there's a lot of, there's a lot of NPM, there's a lot of node modules, and there's equally as many Node-RED modules. So someone's already wrote all the code to do that, so I'm just plugged in and using that one.
So you entered in your location?
Yeah, lat and long. So this is what my my logbook looks like. So this was from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So like all of these is like the state changes. I have it hooked up to a MySQL database that's running in Docker, and it's just, oh, you can see when I lost electricity and everything became unavailable. Like steady fan turned on. I think things booted up or something like that. Some of the states can't be trusted, just like I'm sure you've seen on smart apps. But all the state is here, so I can like search all the history. I can see what's happened. I have an app that's hooked in that's pretty rich that sends a lot of like telemetry data, like where I am. But the nice thing about that is if I want to do triggers off of where I am, or if I'm like leaving work, is it's not with a third party. So it's all my data, so no one knows where I am other than I know where I am. Another thing I wanted to mention, because I'm sure many of you have iPhones, but have noticed that not many devices integrate with HomeKit, because I think Apple makes the developers pay for it. So by putting everything into Home Assistant, you can plug everything into HomeKit. So I have this HomeKit integration that basically just takes everything that I want and can configure through a wizard, so I don't have to have everything. I have it set to send it to HomeKit. So my HomeKit is like endlessly scrolling with all these devices. And normally you would have to buy like very specific devices to support that, but it's an open protocol, so if someone's just hacked it and reverse engineered it, and that way I'm able to have it on my phone. One more thing I'll show, and then I'll ask for questions. So I have the Z-Wave and Zigbee network, so they're a mesh network. So I can actually see the mesh. So like this is the mesh of my devices, how they've connected to one another. So I've got the coordinator in the center. I've got the cabinet lights is that thing that like flips it on and off. It's connected directly to the coordinator. I've got a shower light because I didn't want to waste putting in a switch for one light bulb, so I bought a cheap device that supports brightness. And then you see here, you got the fridge is literally in my fridge, which is a giant metal box. So that's not going to be great for signal strength, but because I have another bulb in the kitchen that's always on, it's connected directly to that, which is then connected back to the coordinator. So it builds out a reliable mesh. So like if it's too far away, like it'll figure out the best way to join up. And I'll show one more thing. I'm running ad blocker as well, and it works with a VPN. That's something that you can do by installing the operating system. It's got like a lot of extension support, so you can just install an ad blocker real quick, and it'll block all the ads on your network.
You mean Pi-hole?
Yeah, Pi-hole, or AdGuard. All my stuff is running in Docker containers. Like there's a lot of extensions that you can do, so everything is Dockerized. So like they'll make custom integrations that run in Docker that hook into Home Assistant through various ways. So I've got 19 containers, and then so one of them is this Z-Wave one. So let me click on this. So these are all my Z-Wave devices, like you can see here, like my window shade. This one's all material, all my switches, it tells me the batteries, and then it shows me the visualization. And I've got the controller, I've got different devices connected directly to it, things connected to other devices because it's more reliable, which means less battery power. Whatever this light bulb is connected to the kitchen, which is connected to the chandelier, which is connected to the controller. So it builds a reliable mesh that allows you to always have a connection. So any questions? That is my demo. I hope you enjoyed it. Yes.
I see you using Ring. Do you happen to know how well the Home Assistant works with Alarm.com?
With Alarm.com. I know a lot of people on the forum recommend Alarm.com because it's, for those who don't know, like ADT, right, is a big player, but they'll charge you like $60+ a month to have alarm services, where Alarm.com can use some of their same equipment and monitor it for you for a lot less. I believe there is an integration for it. And
yeah,
I
I
can
sold the integration, but I don't know how deep it is. I just happen to be a dealer.
I see. Yeah, I believe there is one. Let's see. Maybe not, but I'm sure there's probably one that's third party that you can hook in and run as a Docker container and hook it into Home Assistant. That's pretty much, if there's not official integration, because they didn't want to conform to the standards, they'll make like a Docker container, you can run that and hook it in. Anyone else? Yes?
What is your craziest automation so far?
My craziest one? I really think it's all around my patio shade. I bought my house and it had really nice window shades, but it was missing one over like the big patio door, so it was like a big, like 8-foot one. So that one, I've done a lot of things off of that. Like if I open that back door, but if I haven't opened the back door in like 2 hours, close the patio shade and turn off the lights, because maybe I'm outside, like it doesn't know I'm outside. You can do that. There's actually software to like track your room positions in your house, like using Bluetooth. But pretty much my patio shade, I've done like, I don't know, 5 or so automations with it. Yes?
If we're looking at this from a security standpoint, I mean, would you say that there are any types of smart devices or automations that are inherently less safe or that you would recommend people to avoid? I mean, how does this kind of affect the attack surface of someone's home?
Yeah, so like I said, you can integrate with other companies, in which case you don't know their security and you don't know their data. But if you buy all local control devices, all Zigbee and Z-Wave, and set this up and you don't even expose your server to the internet, it's just a device running on your network. There's really no risk of anyone getting your data or anything like that. I would say there's an inherent risk with using anything on the internet as far as security, because you never know how they're protecting their information. But you do know if your server's not on the internet or it's blocked, firewalled, no one's going to get to it. So that would be the safest, but I would say with everything else, it's the same risk, that there's always that risk. Yes?
I'm just wondering, so does anyone else in your family participate in the configuration of all this, or are you like the sole lord of the devices?
I am the sole owner. My fiance just she just said, make sure everything just works and it doesn't, turn the bathroom light off while she's in there, sort of thing. She likes them. She likes them.
Do you tell her to file a ticket?
There's no SLA. No SLA on it. Don't give her that idea.
You could probably
Yes.
set up an automation.
Are you doing anything with media, with music, or anything else?
You can hook it up to Spotify, and you can I had it at one point, like if I quadruple tapped a wall switch, it started playing music in the family room speaker or like on the patio. So like you can do stuff like that.
There's Plex and Kudu integration.
Yeah, you can hook up Plex to it, although I don't find there's very much reason to, because Plex pretty much, you just use Plex. I don't know, you could, you can cast things, you can have it cast things to your TV, like by pressing a button, or have it announce things in your house. Yes?
Which temperature sensor are you using in your refrigerator?
It's an Akara Zigbee sensor, so it's on Amazon. It's like $12 or $15. It's using Zigbee, so you need like a hub or like a dongle. If anybody wants to not set up Home Assistant but still have rich automations and stuff like that, a great way is to use Zigbee and Z-Wave. And Samsung used to make a hub called the SmartThings Hub that was Zigbee and Z-Wave radios in it, and it hooked up to like Google, so like you can kind of get a lot of the same stuff. They stopped making it. They escaped out of that business. Now there's a new company who's taken them over. It's called Aotech, which is actually a really good company who is actually making the sensors anyway. So they basically just bought the rights to the hub. It used to be a lot cheaper, but they kind of jacked the price up on it. It's like almost $200. But it can do a lot of like custom automations and things like that, and hook up to these sensors. Yes.
So you mentioned both Zigbee and Z-Wave quite a bit. Will any Zigbee device work with any Zigbee hub? Like if you have like a Philips Hue hub that's Z-Wave, will any Z-Wave device work with that hub, or do you have to, is there like some specific stuff you have to work with?
Yeah, so Zigbee is a standard and there's protocols around it. Same with Z-Wave. That's why a lot of alarm systems use Z-Wave, because it has a license cost to use it, so it's got a lot of standards and documentation, so it's not just, someone's just making their own thing. There's a lot of conformity and protocols, so it's like all the software is able to extract that because it's a standard and do it dynamically. Zigbee's the same way, but it's free. I'm sure maybe many of you have heard about Thread or Matter coming soon, which is like going to be using, it's a way to like unify platforms. So like to your point, do you need a hub or is it specific? Yes and no. You need a Zigbee hub to listen to Zigbee devices, or you need a Z-Wave hub or dongle to listen to Z-Wave. They have a device, it's in the slides, that does both, that you can hook into Home Assistant. The Aotech SmartThings hub can do both. And what was I going to say?
The question was if you have like a Philips Hue.
Yeah, so Philips Hue uses Zigbee.
So
it follows the Zigbee standard, and it should work with any hub.
So you can pick up any Zigbee device with it?
Not the Zigbee hub. The Philips hub is locked to Philips because they want to make money.
That's what I was getting.
Yes, so I would say the hubs is the worst way to go. Like you don't want to have like a pile of hubs in your house. I only have 2.5. One's my alarm system, one's the hub for the fans, and then one's the hub that's the brains behind all this to connect to Zigbee and Z-Wave stuff. If you had to choose one and not get too far into it, the Ring alarm system, the Ring integration with Home Assistant, the Ring alarm is Z-Wave, and you can add third-party Z-Wave limited devices to the Ring alarm system. So you can add a Z-Wave motion sensor to it, although you can just buy a Ring one. You can add a Z-Wave light switch, and I've tried it before and it worked. It won't work as well, but it will allow you to listen to the pressing of the buttons and is the light on and off and things like that. So like the Ring alarm system, if you're in the market for an alarm system, I would definitely go with Ring. The cost is pretty good. They upped the price. It used to be $10, now it's $20 a month. It's still worth $20 a month. Good system. Yes, in the back. Yeah, so as far as problems go, the automations have been running, so once I set up an automation, I haven't really touched it or had to maintain them. So some of these automations I've made like a year plus ago and haven't had issues with. One thing that did happen right before the presentation is my house lost power. And it wasn't just like a momentary power outage, it was like Tico sent me like an email, like you're one of 100 homes who lost power. So my problem with doing that, because I have port forwarding set up with a domain name, every time my internet goes down, there's always the chance that I get a new IP address, and then my domain doesn't work, then I can't connect to show you everything, and Google can't connect. So really it's not a big deal, because you would just lose Google, which is why I recommend Home Assistant, because if you lose internet and you use local devices, a lot of them are battery powered, your stuff will still work, because it's all being done locally. Thank you. Yes.
So how much do you charge to set up someone's house?
I have considered creating a business to do that, but it's not what I do, right? I'm a tech lead, I'm a developer. I can't legally go into anyone's home and touch anything with electricity, not even their thermostat. You have to be a licensed electrician, even to touch a thermostat. You know, it's like 24 volts. Can't do any of that, so there's no business to be formed. Derek, don't worry. Yeah, just message me. I'm happy to talk about it and help you with anything you have. Yeah, so there's a lot of competitors in this space. Like even like if I turn off the presentation, all these the screens are going to go up, projector's going to turn off. I can control the lights in here. So like a lot of businesses are using not necessarily home automation, right? But they're using automated products like Crestron, I think Cisco. There's a lot of companies doing it. If you want to do it at your house and hire someone to set up your house, you have to have a really big wallet, because they'll charge you probably tens of thousands of dollars to set up commercial grade equipment, and Control4 and Savant are some of those companies. But it's like, if you go on YouTube and you look up, you know, mansion automated, it's going to be literally that. It's going to be a mansion that has a you know, Control4 system or one of these commercial systems. So it's not necessarily a competitor to the commercial side. Maybe one day, who knows? But for the home, this is going to be way, 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 way cheaper. You just have to buy the devices, and you don't have to have a markup on the devices for a licensed company to install it, right? Because, you know, a $12 sensor from Amazon, they'll probably charge you $100 and $500 to program it to do 2 automations. You want more automations? Another $500. So it's all in the programming is where the you know, the factor comes in, because it's the most time consuming. Okay, thank you. We do only have this space just for a few more minutes. We do have to start wrapping up to let the staff that are here who have taken care of some of the logistics things to go home. So I appreciate you all coming, and thank you so much again.
Thank you everyone for coming. My girlfriend was is that there is no way that someone would break into Jesse's house and not get caught within 5 minutes.
Can I see the mic?